What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to do Talking Oscars. These are actually my 10 favorite Best Picture wins of all time. I wanted to do a little bit more of these, just sort of like generic Oscar videos, because it's Oscar season and we can talk more broadly. So as the festivals are going on, figured I'd give some more hot takes on the Oscars. This list was really hard to make because I whittled it down to about 20, and then I had to whittle it down to about 10. So I definitely lost some quality films along the way. There were films that I highly respected that I've honestly only seen once, so I use that as sort of a criteria in addition to what were they up against, and while that movie was great, did it have a contender that I might have chosen instead, and how much, you know, even though that movie's great, it's like, is there an even better movie in that category? So, um, movies like All About Eve and Bridge on the River Kwai I really loved, but I've really only seen those movies once, and they're both excellent movies. So they just missed out because of this. And some of the more recent movies, I just felt like I needed more time with movies like Argo. And I really love Spotlight, but I just feel like I need more time to figure out if that's one of the greatest films. So we ended up with 10. And starting off at number 10 is Kramer versus Kramer. This is sort of like the placeholder for all sort of complex relationship dramas. It was a winner of 5 Academy Awards. It got Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep, and Little Justin Henry nominations. And its biggest contender was Apocalypse Now. And yes, I would have voted for Kramer versus Kramer over Apocalypse Now. While I like Francis Ford Coppola's work, Apocalypse Now is one of those films that I just don't feel like revisiting ever. It's really bleak and it's hard to sit through, as some of the war films are. And it's just, Kramer versus Kramer is not necessarily a happy movie either, but I love watching actors, and if you love watching actors, you'll love watching this. I loved watching sort of, um, Dustin Hoffman making this world for his kid while his wife, played by Meryl Streep, is off trying to, I don't know, figure out her life, and he does such an excellent job of that. And Justin Henry is I mean, he's great as a little child actor, conveying all of these emotions about, well, I'm with my dad, but now my mom's back in the picture. And then you have all these conflicting emotions about, like, well, who you, like, where you been, when Meryl comes back into the picture. So it's just a great movie. If you haven't seen Kramer versus Kramer, I absolutely do recommend it. So coming in at number 9, we've got Chicago, directed by Rob Marshall, and this one won a couple Academy Awards, including one for Catherine Zeta-Jones. Pretty much everybody in the cast, there can be an argument made that this is their best performance. Renee Zellweger, Richard Gere, Queen Latifah, John C. Reilly. I mean, you can make the case. You can also make the case maybe that it's not for some of them, but this one is definitely in the debate of, well, it's either this film or this film. So, yeah, I picked Chicago because what I loved about what Rob Marshall did was we weren't really doing musicals. And Rob Marshall kind of reinvigorated musicals, and he did it in such a brilliant way, by putting a different spin on it. This isn't like the golden age musicals of yesteryear. It's got a completely different vibe to it, and it's just a great representation of the story. It feels like somehow feels like you're watching a stage production, like it's being put on for you, but it's very cinematic in its undertaking. So the competition here, I don't even like The Hours, to be honest. So, I mean, like, it was up against Gangs of New York, and I'm fine. Like, I'm fine with Chicago over Gangs of New York and The Pianist. I would have voted for it, even though I love Gangs of New York. Um, it's one of those. It's just like a Scorsese thing. It's like, well, which film? He should have won for Goodfellas. Like, that's a Best Picture film that should have happened, um, but didn't. So, c'est la vie. We'll come back around to that in a minute. Uh, Number 8 on my list is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, which, speaking of coming up right after Chicago, we had Return of the King. This I'm kind of putting here out of, you know, respect for like all nerds ever, anywhere, all the time, because when you think about it, um, this is the first nerd film. It's really the only nerd film to have won Best Picture. And of all the things that we've loved and supported, all the Star Wars films, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, Marvel, DC, you know, any you genre fans, right? I mean, yeah, you have Silence of the Lambs, but it's a pretty, you know, there's a huge difference between Silence of the Lambs and like Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street. You know what I'm saying? So, we finally got something with like, you know, orcs and talking trees and all this kind of crazy shit in it, and it won Best Picture. And not only did it win Best Picture, but it won 11 Oscars. And it won in a year where it does. My heart is also with another film, and that's Lost in Translation. But at the same time, I would have voted for Return of the King as much as I love Lost in Translation. I think the right win was for having seen Peter Jackson's entire trilogy and going, "Yup, now's the time." Like, were you gonna give it to Two Towers up against Chicago? No, of course you're not. So that feels weird. It's the middle film of the series. Fellowship, I could see maybe because you're so blown away at the beginning that you're just like, oh my god, wow, this is the first thing, and it's just unlike it. But once you don't give it to Fellowship, it has to be Return. It's either the first or last film. It's not the middle film. So, yeah, Return of the King, just extraordinary film, and honestly, like the other nominees that year that are not Lost in Translation, two of them need to be jettisoned anyway for Sideways and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So I would have picked Seabiscuit and Master and Commander and drop those two and now leave Mystic River. But the two of them don't even need to be nominated because Sideways and Eternal Sunshine both deserve to be nominated that year. So, coming up next on the docket, we've got another film that I'm forgetting and awkwardly. So, um, oh, Casablanca. Uh, Casablanca is such an easy film to include on the list because it was up against 9 films. Good luck. Good luck naming them off the top of your. When you even look at the list, you're gonna be like, I don't even know what most of these movies are. So that's the thing is like, I'm not gonna say I've seen every single Best Picture winner or nominee. I've seen most of the picture winners, definitely not all the nominees. And there were films in here I was like, what are these? Talking about not standing the test of time. Casablanca is just like the clear winner that year. Just had, just a head above everything else. Like there's nothing remotely close to it, and it's so iconic. It's got all these iconic lines. It's got great performances from Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. Yeah, I mean, how do you not? Especially if you're going through, if you've got Casablanca like I did at all in like your top whatever, and you look at it and you look at the year and you're like, oh my God, there's nothing here. I mean, there might have been something that wasn't nominated and I just didn't pick up on it. But yeah, easily. I think the closest film maybe is Heaven Can Wait, but I don't see that as a picture winner. So, I, yeah, I, there we go. Um, I don't see For Whom the Bell Tolls being a picture winner. So, I don't know what else would win here. It's Casablanca all the way. Number six is The Departed. It's my Martin Scorsese play. And, I, you know, had to keep I had to keep this in here. I love the film. I know it's not everybody's favorite Martin Scorsese film. It's oddly his only Best Picture winner. Uh, and it's so weird to say that because he should have won for Goodfellas, but he didn't. And I know this was like a huge makeup nomination and win for him, which is one of the reasons why, even though The Departed is one of my favorite films of all time, it's also at like number six on this list, is because I acknowledge that part of the reason this won is because there was such a groundswell of support for him, with not having won previously anything. But I think it's an excellent film. And again, this is kind of a weak year. I think the only film that I possibly would have thought about was Little Miss Sunshine. Is the only film I still think about out of the nominees. I don't. I mean, The Queen didn't need a Best Picture nomination. It just that was a acting play. I could make the same case for Babel. I didn't really love the film, but I thought the acting was good. And then Letters from Iwo Jima. I just don't think anybody talks about that movie anymore. Like it was fine, but talk about a film that kind of got lost to time. I don't think anybody gives that film much credence in their rewatching of film. So, yeah, when you look back on it, they made the right choice. The Departed is the one film that people still talk about to this day, other than maybe Little Miss Sunshine. So, that one was easy. Coming in at number five, I have One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which we'll get to this because this is a combative year. This is a absolutely crazy year, but I love how Cuckoo's Nest came to be. I love that Michael Douglas really fought for it, and he uh, bought the rights to produce it, because he saw Ken Casey's work and he knew that there was something here, and they rightfully cast Jack Nicholson. We've got a great turn here. The iconic Nurse Ratched, and a wonderful Best Supporting Actress Oscar win for Louise Fletcher. But yeah, I do have to acknowledge this year was fucking tight in terms of nominees. It's up against, I will say I haven't seen one of the nominees. I'm not going to tell you which one, but it's up against notably, probably most notably, I don't know that people, I think Barry Lyndon and Nashville are probably like in fourth and fifth when people are thinking about this. I don't know, it depends on where you're coming from. I think most people would argue Dog Day Afternoon or Jaws. I'm not crazy about the LGBTQ representation Dog Day Afternoon, even though I think it's a great film. There's just enough there that I cringed just a little bit on the rewatch, going, I don't know about this. So that would keep me from voting for Best Picture. It wouldn't keep me from nominating it because I think it's an excellent movie, and it's the '70s, and we didn't really have we weren't really good about educating people about this kind of thing. So I can only expect just so much, I think, coming out of this period. But Jaws is the one, and Jaws is iconic. It's one of the greatest films of all time ever. So, but do I think the shark movie should have won Best Picture? It could have. What I likely would have done would have been to split it here, and I think I would have given One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest picture, and then given director to Steven Spielberg to kickstart his career. Not that he needs another director trophy, but I think a lot of what makes Jaws work is Spielberg's vision. His new way of doing things. Yeah, he kind of stumbled around through the production of Jaws, and it's got its own quirks and things that didn't go right. and he wasn't 100% sure how to do it. But when you look at actually how he ended up putting it all together, he made a lot of decisions that you just go, man, that's a great choice. That's another great choice. That's another great choice. So this one was hard for me to keep on the list, but I really love One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I think what Jack Nicholson does here is some of his best work. And unfortunately, in some of the other films that I think he's extraordinary, those films didn't win Best Picture. So it's interesting to see some of his other works, like I don't know, The Shining, just not here, and Chinatown didn't win Best Picture. So um, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Shantae, you stay. Uh, Coming up on the list at number 4 is American Beauty, which had a much easier year. I think there's a case to be made that this year could have been harder if different films had been nominated. But this 1999 was a great year in cinema, but it's also a year in cinema where some films have there were hits, but we like critically didn't look at it at the same way. Like if we went back and we did the whole like let's expand to 10, and the people who were voting today, obviously like The Matrix and Toy Story 2 would get Best Picture nominations, but those movies aren't in play here. Fight Club will get a Best Picture nomination. So like there are a couple other films here that missed out on nominations. So what you're actually up against are The Sixth Sense, The Green Mile, Cider House Rules, and The Insider. Not everybody loves Cider House Rules. The Insider feels like a really weird Best Picture winner if it were to win. The Green Mile, let's be honest, would have been a makeup win for The Shawshank Redemption not being a Best Picture winner. So the strongest case here is The Sixth Sense, which wouldn't be a bad win, except for the fact that I love American Beauty. Like, I actually remember where I was when I watched American Beauty. So for me, the voting would have come down to American Beauty versus The Sixth Sense. And American Beauty just has made a bigger impact on my life, even though I think The Sixth Sense is probably the best film that M. Night Shyamalan has ever done. So I think the thing that we should change, if we could go back and do, is give Bruce Willis the nomination, because he's never gotten one before, and it feels like he should have a Best Actor nomination. It probably would be for The Sixth Sense. I don't know what else it would be for. So, American Beauty, I feel like we can love it a little bit more now that Spacey's cases are all over and he's not guilty of anything. So I feel like I can actually talk about American Beauty without feeling strangled by it. But yeah, it's sort of a dark comedy, and it represents the transitional period coming out of the 90s going into the 2000s, and sort of like what film feels like is coming, but also what we learned in the 90s. It feels like it's like this passing through point for Sam Mendes, and what it's this great script by Alan Ball. Obviously Annette Bening should have won. I stand by that. Some people would flip it, and they would have given. There are people who, the great Annette versus Hillary debate. I know people who would flip the $1 Million Baby one. I would actually flip the first one and give it to Annette for American Beauty, and then let Hillary win for $1 Million Baby. That way Hillary would be on her second nomination. Annette had already previously been nominated before American Beauty. So, yeah, I love this nomination. So, what's next on my list? Number 3 is Sound of Music, which is actually celebrating an anniversary this year. So feels right that it's here on the list. And it's got another one of those pretty like wide open years where it's like, well, what else? I mean, the biggest contender is Dr. Zhivago. I could care less about the other nominees. So, and yes, I would vote for Sound of Music over Dr. Zhivago. And I think it's important to include at least one of the Golden Age musicals, and Sound of Music, for me, of the ones that won, was the biggest standout. I like My Fair Lady, and I like Oliver. I actually don't like West Side Story, and I actually think Steven Spielberg's West Side Story is better. And that's even like from my opinion from having had sight at some point is that I just did not like the original West Side Story. Never have, never will. I don't like hate it. Like it's not the worst. I just when I saw that I was so underwhelmed. I was like, no one in here feels like they're in a gang at all. Nobody. Um, but I think Spielberg got a little bit of that grit and understood, and then I really loved Spielberg's West Side Story. So I finally got the version that I wanted. And honestly, some of the Broadway takes, like the most recent revival that we had prior to Spielberg's, was really good. Um, so yeah, Sound of Music, The Hills Are Alive. Duh. I mean, it's hard to quantify and to be here as a blind film critic and be like, there's like that one image. It's so simplistic, but it's such an iconic shot of her running to the top of the hill and spinning around that people actually go there and do that. They have to go to the same hill and have to run up it like they're like the Maria in Sound of Music. So yeah, I love this movie. I was also in Sound of Music in high school, so it has like a personal tie to me where I was not in My Fair Lady, you know. So um we're keeping Sound of Music. Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty, the final two spots. And which ones are they and where did they go? Well, number two, I went to The Godfather. Um, I I picked the first one. I'm one of those weird people that actually does think the first one's slightly better than the second one, although I think they're both really good. But like I give the first one the edge. I know other people give the second one the edge, but I feel like Godfather has to be here because in either form, some form, because it's the only film that has a sequel that's won the trophy until Return of the King. Like it's the first sequel to have won, and then later on you get Return of the King. Sequels are not usually considered to be Oscar caliber things, and it would take years until we would get another one. So Godfather was the first film that managed to pull that off to get a win for both. And Return of the King only has it for Return of the King. This one has it for part one and part two. So Coppola's, magnificent masterwork. While I wouldn't have given it to him for Apocalypse Now, I absolutely would have given it to him for The Godfather. The biggest contender here is Cabaret. I know a lot of people really love Cabaret. There was some thought that maybe it would win that night. But you know what, guys? You're supposed to leave the gun and take the cannoli, and I'm taking the cannoli on this one. I guess that makes Cabaret the gun, but kind of a fair trade. So yeah, The Godfather. And then finally in my number one spot, and this one was so easy, and there's so much reasoning behind it. It's Schindler's List. Like I'm never gonna take this win away. And I don't really care about the other films that it's nominated against. I mean, I've seen all of them, and I I can recognize they're good, but I think I don't spend that much time thinking about like the piano and In the Name of the Father. I just don't. So I think this film benefited from the fact that I didn't have to choose between Schindler's List and Jurassic Park, and that they didn't double nominate Spielberg that year. But that's also why Schindler's List is number one, is because do you guys realize that in the same year he made like Jurassic Park and Schindler's List? Like two of his most iconic works were released in the same year. Like he knocked two grand slams in the same year, and only one of them managed a Best Picture nomination. Obviously Jurassic Park deserved it, but Schindler's List got here and deservingly won. And it's such an emotionally grounded and just devastating movie. It sort of redefined what a war movie is. You know, by this point we'd already sat through everything from Apocalypse Now to Platoon to Full Metal Jacket, and they're all like these hard to watch. You know, send them off into jungle and blow each other up type movies. But there was a whole different side to the war, and Steven Spielberg really focused on that. Yeah, there had been a couple of other films prior that had tackled the angle of the Holocaust, but Spielberg's direction, bringing known actors and stuff into the film, um, his use of color, the specificity of it. I even watched this with audio description, and the audio description is great and does help to mention the color, so that way when it pops through, you get the intentionality behind Spielberg's direction. It's such a gorgeous, beautiful film, and it's one of the rare films that, like, in the '90s, was airing all the time on television, unedited, just as is, without commercials sometimes. But yeah, it's completely. They were like, by the way, this is exactly. It's got all the shit, all the terrifying shit that you saw in theaters is all here. So get ready for it. Strap in. Um, and that was the '90s. That was before we started dropping F-bombs and stuff in prime time and cable shows. So sure. Yeah, Schindler's List is an easy choice. But it's an easy choice also because Jurassic, I don't know what I would have done, truly, because when people ask me all the time, because they know I'm into movies, and you're a movie critic, what's your favorite movie of all time? Jurassic Park is always that film for me that I say, because I try to find that the peak, the sort of like the moment where I sort of started transitioning from watching little kid films and cartoons and stuff to, oh my God, there are other movies out there. And I feel like Jurassic Park did that for me. So for a lot of other people who grow up with like Indiana Jones or Star Wars or Back to the Future, or I guess in Steven Spielberg's case, The Greatest Show on Earth, uh, there's always that movie. And for me, it's Jurassic Park. So I would have had a really hard time picking between what is clearly one of the most devastating films of all time and what is my heart is with the most, Jurassic Park. But let's be honest, he deserved 2 nominations this year, and he only got one. So that's why he was my number one choice for my favorite Best Picture winner of all time, is Schindler's List. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what your favorite picks are in the comments. Sorry, I stumbled a little bit in the middle while I was trying to remember Casablanca, of all films. But yeah, there were several films that came really close. I already mentioned like Argo, and I do love Spotlight, All About Eve, Bridge on the River Kwai. I'm trying to remember some of the ones that I toyed with that came really close. But yeah, those are. Oh, Gladiator. I love Gladiator. Gladiator came really close. If I'd done a longer list, but you got to cut out somewhere, and 10 feels like you got to do top 10. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the other side.